He just slaps you down for it. I'll tell you what, there's a divine aspect about my relationship with Robyn, and we have been bitch slapped for it.
But it
And I am
feels,
sick of it.
I know, but it
I'm
feels,
like walking for that I did, or that I didn't manage, and or the bad relationship I had with one wife.
Everything Robyn thought she had is slipping through her fingers. The title of favorite wife that once seemed untouchable is now hanging by a thread, and the cracks are showing for everyone to see. For years, Robyn's place at the top of Kody's world looked secure. But now the family's foundation is shaking, and the illusion of her perfect status is falling apart. The Brown family, once held together by shared faith and the promise of unity, is now a battlefield of shifting loyalties, broken trust, and raw emotion. Betrayals aren't whispered anymore, they're out in the open, and every episode feels like a new bombshell. Hi, friends, I'm Sarah, and you're watching TLC Sister Wives Daily. If you're as obsessed with the drama as I am, make sure you hit that subscribe button and drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to know, do you think Robyn's favorite wife era is finally over, or is there more to this story than we realize? Let's set the stage. At the center, you have Kody Brown, the man who once dreamed of a big, happy, plural family. Then there's Robyn, the wife who seemed to have it all: Kody's attention, the biggest house, and a sense of security the others could only watch from a distance. But Christine, Janelle, and Mary aren't just side characters in Robyn's story. Each of them has fought their own battles, made impossible choices, and watched their family change in ways they never expected. And don't forget the kids, who've grown up in the middle of all this chaos, watching the adults they love struggle with loyalty, faith, and heartbreak. The Brown family's story isn't just about polygamy. It's about power, control, and what happens when the truth finally comes out. Robyn didn't just join the Brown family, she changed it forever. When she first appeared on Sister Wives, she was introduced as the new hopeful addition, the woman who would complete Kody's vision of a plural marriage. At first, the other wives tried to welcome her. There were smiles, awkward family meetings, and a lot of talk about unity. But it didn't take long for the dynamic to shift. Kody was smitten. He drove hours to see Robyn, spent weekends away from the other wives, and even broke his own rules about courtship. The cameras caught it all: Kody's excitement, the way he lit up around her, and the subtle but unmistakable distance growing between him and the rest of the family. Robyn's wedding wasn't just another ceremony. It was a turning point. Kody divorced Mary, his first wife, so he could legally marry Robyn and adopt her children. That decision sent shockwaves through the family. Mary, who had always been the legal wife, suddenly found herself pushed aside. Christine and Janelle felt it too. The balance that had held the family together for years was gone. Robyn's kids got special treatment, and her needs always seemed to come first. The other wives noticed, and so did the viewers. It wasn't just about who got the most time with Kody. It was about who got his loyalty, his energy, and his protection. The favoritism became impossible to ignore. There were scenes where Kody would rush to Robyn's side during family arguments, leaving the other wives to fend for themselves. When the family moved to Las Vegas, Robyn's house was the biggest and the newest. Later in Flagstaff, she ended up in a mansion while Janelle struggled with rental issues and Christine felt isolated. Even the kids saw the difference. Robyn's children got more of Kody's attention, while the original Brown kids often felt left out or overlooked. The resentment built up slowly, then all at once. Christine started to question her place in the family. Janelle pulled away emotionally. Mary, already wounded by the catfishing scandal, became more and more isolated. Robyn's rise to favorite wife wasn't just about Kody's affection. It was about power, security, and the way the family's entire structure shifted around her. But as the years went on, that special status became a double-edged sword. The more Kody favored Robyn, the more the rest of the family fractured. What started as a dream of unity turned into a story of division. As a dream of unity turned into a story of division, and the fallout was just beginning. For years, faith was the glue that kept the Browns together. Every decision, every sacrifice was supposed to be for a higher purpose. Living plural marriage wasn't just a lifestyle, it was a commandment, a calling. The wives talked about it openly, especially Janelle and Christine. They said their faith was the reason they stayed, even when things got hard. Janelle once said she believed plural marriage was designed for happiness, even as she struggled with jealousy and loneliness. Christine, too, clung to the idea that her sacrifices would be rewarded, that her place in the family was part of something bigger than herself. But as the years passed, those beliefs started to crack. The reality of daily life didn't match the promises of their faith. Janelle, who had always been practical and steady, began to question whether staying in the marriage was really what God wanted for her. In one of the most honest moments on the show, she admitted she didn't care what God thought about her leaving anymore. That was a huge shift for someone who had always put spiritual duty first. Christine's journey was just as powerful. She went from defending polygamy to realizing it was breaking her spirit. She wanted love, respect, and partnership, things she wasn't getting from Kody. The more she spoke her truth, the more she realized she didn't need religious approval to make her own choices. Kody, meanwhile, clung to his role as the leader. He saw himself as the head of the family, the one who set the rules and kept everyone in line. But his leadership style was more about control than guidance. He made big decisions, like moving the family to Flagstaff without real input from the wives. He used faith as a shield, insisting that obedience was a sign of devotion. But when the wives started pushing back, his authority crumbled. Instead of listening, he doubled down, demanding loyalty and blaming others when things went wrong. The more Kody tried to control the family, the more he lost them. Janelle and Christine stopped looking to him for answers. They started making decisions for themselves, guided by their own needs and values instead of old religious scripts. The foundation that once held the Browns together, shared faith, shared purpose, wasn't strong enough to survive the reality of favoritism, neglect, and broken promises. The cracks were too deep, and the old rules no longer applied. The move to Flagstaff was supposed to be a fresh start, but it turned into the decision that broke the Brown family's back. In Las Vegas, things weren't perfect, but at least there was some stability. Each wife had her own home, the kids were settled, and there was a sense of routine. Then, almost out of nowhere, Kody announced they were moving to Flagstaff, Arizona. He painted it as a chance for a new beginning, a place where they could finally build their dream homes on a big piece of land called Coyote Pass. The wives were blindsided. Some of the kids were about to start school, and nobody really wanted to leave their friends and lives behind. But Kody pushed ahead, convinced this was the answer to all their problems. The reality was a mess from the start. The Browns sold their custom-built Vegas homes, thinking they'd use the money to build on Coyote Pass. But the land was just dirt. No houses, no water, no electricity. Not even a plan for how to divide it. The family ended up scattered across Flagstaff in rentals, with Robyn landing in a massive house while Janelle and Christine struggled to find anything affordable. The costs piled up fast. Instead of saving money, they burned through it. The dream of building together faded as the months dragged on and nothing happened on the land. The wives started to realize that the promises Kody made weren't adding up. The move didn't bring them closer, it pushed them further apart. Emotionally, the fallout was even worse. The stress of the move exposed every crack in the family's foundation. Christine felt isolated and ignored, stuck in a rental far from everyone else. Janelle tried to stay practical, but even she admitted the whole plan was falling apart. Mary, already on the outside, felt more alone than ever. The kids were uprooted, forced to start over in a new town where nothing felt familiar. Kody's vision of unity turned into a reality of chaos and resentment. The move to Flagstaff didn't just fail to fix the family's problems, it made them impossible to ignore. The empty land at Coyote Pass became a symbol of broken promises and wasted hope. The wives saw firsthand that Kody's big ideas often left them holding the bag, both financially and emotionally. Instead of building a future together, the Browns watched their family unravel, one broken promise at a time. The collapse of the Brown family didn't happen overnight, but when it came, it was impossible to miss. Christine was the first to make her move. Years of feeling unwanted and dismissed finally caught up with her. The moment Kody sat across from her and admitted he'd never been attracted to her, that he'd only married her out of pressure, something inside Christine broke for good. She'd spent decades trying to make it work, raising kids mostly on her own, and holding on to the hope that things would get better. But Cody's words were a final blow. She packed her things, told the cameras she was done, and walked away from the only life she'd ever known. Watching her leave, you could see both heartbreak and relief on her face. She wasn't just leaving Kody, she was reclaiming her dignity. Janelle's journey was quieter, but just as powerful. She'd always been the practical one, the peacemaker, the wife who kept things running behind the scenes. But even Janelle reached her breaking point. Cody's demands for loyalty, his refusal to communicate, and his constant power plays wore her down. When he tried to force her to choose between him and her children, Janelle stood her ground. She chose her kids. She stopped waiting for Kody to show up, emotionally or physically, and started building a life on her own terms. Her independence wasn't loud, but it was steady. She made it clear she wouldn't sacrifice her self-respect for a marriage that gave her nothing in return. Mary's story is the most tragic. After the catfishing scandal, she was already on the outside looking in. Cody's affection for her had dried up, and he made no secret of it. He told her point blank that he couldn't give her what she needed. Still, Mary hung on, hoping for a miracle that never came. She watched as Kody poured his energy into Robyn and left her with scraps. Eventually, even Mary had to admit the marriage was over, though the pain of being left behind was written all over her face. The children saw everything. They watched their mothers cry, argue, and finally stand up for themselves. Some of the older kids spoke out, saying they felt ignored or pushed aside, especially as Cody's attention shifted more and more to Robyn's household. The family dinners grew tense, and the sense of unity that once defined the Browns disappeared. The kids learned hard lessons about loyalty, love, and what happens when trust is broken. The collapse wasn't just about failed marriages, it was about a family learning, sometimes painfully, that real love can't survive on empty promises and favoritism. Robyn's place in the Brown family has always been a lightning rod for controversy. Was she just in the right place at the right time? Or did she quietly steer the family's fate to her own advantage? From the moment she joined, Robyn seemed to land on her feet. She became the legal wife, her kids got adopted, and she ended up in the biggest, most comfortable house in Flagstaff. While the other wives juggled rentals and financial stress, Robyn's home was always secure. The money from the Vegas houses, the down payment for her mansion, somehow it all worked out in her favor. But it wasn't just about money. Robyn's emotional influence over Kody was clear. When things got tense, she cried on camera and Kody would rush to comfort her, often leaving the other wives to deal with their pain alone. She played the role of peacemaker, but her version of peace usually meant everyone else falling in line. When the family faced tough decisions, Robyn often claimed she was just going along with what Kody wanted. But behind the scenes, she was always in the loop, always protected. Her story shifted depending on who was asking. One minute, she insisted she never wanted a big house. The next, she was explaining why it was necessary. Accountability was never Robyn's strong suit. When the family's finances got tight, she distanced herself from the decisions, saying she didn't handle the money. When the other wives questioned her influence, she played innocent, insisting she just wanted everyone to get along. But the pattern was hard to ignore. Robyn benefited from every major change, and when the dust settled, she was the last wife standing. Whether by luck or by design, Robyn's position in the family was always secure, even as the world around her fell apart. Now that the dust has settled, every member of the Brown family is left to face the consequences of choices made and truths revealed. Christine, after years of feeling invisible, finally found her voice and walked away with her head held high. She's building a new life, one where she's no longer waiting for someone else's approval. Janelle, always the steady hand, has learned to trust her own instincts. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to TLC Sister Wives Daily for more real talk and updates. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.